Hello, darling. It's me, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, the sassy lassie with the classy chassis. Oh, thanks for bringing me into your home. Now, when are you gonna clean up this dump? And put some clothes on? Jeez. So you thought you'd get your jollies by watching she-demons. You're just hoping it's some sleazy, cheesy sexploitation flick with beautiful girls running around half naked, their breasts heaving against their flimsy, shredded blouses, their milky white thighs beckoning from beneath their tattered skirts. That's what you're after, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the NEETwork, the podcast for all things NEET. I'm Theo, and with me as always is my friend Dexter.
Hello, everybody.
And I didn't have any real NEET news, or rather, there wasn't anything I could think of, but you brought something up, Dexter. Maybe you'd like to talk about it?
Yeah, so I know a few weeks back we talked about the McDonald's labor shortage. We're starting to see a mass walk-off with, I think it's Southwest Airlines. They had to cancel something like 1,800 to 2,000 flights this weekend.
Oh my god.
Weekend being the 10th of October.
Yes, yeah, this news will be somewhat old by the time it actually airs, but it's current right now. From what I understand, this is about the vaccine mandate. It's not about living wages or anything.
No, it's not about employee rights, really, as much. It's mostly, it's about the vaccine. They're not giving us the choice, so we're just going to say, screw it. And so a lot of air traffic control and a lot of pilots are walking off, which I think that's super freaky that you have air traffic control just leaving with planes in the air.
They just bounce out of the tower and the plane is still in flight. My god.
That's right. I'm out of here.
Wow. So I think it's a good thing to bring up, not just because maybe they'll just join a different airline company, but hey, if I was making pilot money for a long time and saving up my money, I would try my hand at being a NEET post-pilot, you know?
I mean, arguably, yeah. Air traffic control makes stupid money too, last time I checked.
Then the other point I wanted to make is that these mass walk-offs are happening not just at crappy jobs like McDonald's. Like, these are very prestigious jobs. Even the bottom of the barrel, I think the word was stewardess, but they don't like that word anymore, so it's now something else. Even the bottom of the barrel airline job.
Flight attendants?
Flight attendant? That's what it is. Even that, which is considered like the lowest rung of the ladder, is considered a very prestigious job, I think. Or somewhat prestigious.
They make good money. And it's starting to become not about the money, but about the principle.
Yep.
It's about sending a message. I don't know exactly what's driving it, but I think it had something to do with the vaccine mandate, the guillotine slamming down over the weekend.
Is it that the government is mandating the vaccine, or is it that the company is mandating the vaccine?
The government mandated it, I think, for any company over 100 people.
I see. Oh, over 100 people. Okay.
Yeah, nationwide.
Right, because I haven't heard any talk of it at my current job, but we're like probably 15 guys on a good day.
And I think all federal employees were already required to have it.
Federal employees, okay.
I don't know if airlines are considered federal or if they're considered private.
I don't know. In any case, they have to have it and have faced a mass walk-off.
I guess they're private. The TSA is federal.
So it's not just the tier of job that are seeing walk-offs, it's the reasons for the walk-off that are multiplying.
Yeah, now people are having more than just pay's not good, boss is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's other factors at play here.
Yeah, and I would argue, airline employees and fast food employees are quite important, but when are we going to start seeing truck drivers
there's been some very interesting things happening in countries like Australia and France regarding that.
I've heard about it in Australia. I don't really know much about it. Just that it's happening.
Kind of the same reason as the airlines,
Okay.
but there's been a lot of organized trucker strikes. And then I believe the Yellow Jacket riots in France actually were they started out as like a trucker riot and turned into like a entire working class riot
Civil revolt
for the gas taxes, I think. Effectively, it was so expensive to do their jobs that they just decided that they're gonna
to stop.
yeah, they're gonna stop
Yeah.
doing their jobs and then become like civilly unrest.
Oh, right. Well, I was gonna say, Australia is really like becoming an actual dystopia, like as bad as China, probably.
It's really weird watching how quickly that country is surrendering a lot of like private privileges.
It's not surrendering. Like the citizens surrendered the guns, and then the government just started walking all over everyone, is what I understand.
The citizens are just straight up okay with losing a lot of their private privileges, and that's
Really,
super strange to me. Like,
they're normies.
yeah, they're normies. When you guise everything in the illusion of safety, but I'm personally of the belief that government doesn't really care about your safety as long as you're paying your dues.
The normie believes the government has its best interests in mind, but the NEET knows the truth.
All they care about is the Gibbs.
As for my part of this little discussion, before we got into the episode proper, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the podcast. So I've been thinking and discussing a little bit about other content we can do, and what I'd like to do is expand into other kinds of podcast outside of the NEETwork, just to give us a little more content, so we're not just it's not just like a slow drip every single week of only the NEETwork. So what I'd like to do is kind of consider this episode a test of the waters for a format I'd like to try in the future, something a little more free form and more casual than the NEETwork content. And if you like it, let us know what you think.
What is this new format?
The format I'm thinking is something like, I want to call it maybe the fireside, where we just kind of pick subjects and talk about them, just like weird stuff on the internet or historical events, maybe more of a discussion style podcast, but like with a subject in mind, not necessarily always pertaining to NEET subjects.
All right, I can dig it.
Yeah. But for the last of the NEET related subjects for tonight, if you're interested in becoming a member of a supportive NEET community, take a look at the NEETwork Discord, where all things NEET are discussed. When we've grown the community a bit more, we plan on having Discord events like maybe viewing parties, or I'm thinking maybe a Cards Against Humanity game, or whatever else we can think of. And we'd be happy to have you if you join in.
We'd be happy to have you.
Absolutely. But I guess for a moment, taking a step away from the subject of NEETdom and NEET subjects, in line with the holiday, we're going to have us a little fireside chat about the supernatural, conspiracy theories, anything spooky and scary. And I'm not sure this is really a conversation Dexter and I have had yet. We've talked about many things, but I don't think we've actually talked about the supernatural.
You know, I don't think that this is not a really popular subject with me,
Okay.
so I don't bring it up very often.
I can imagine. Would you call yourself a skeptic?
Oh, I would consider myself a very heavy skeptic.
Okay. I don't know if you'll get this, but I'm a Mulder as opposed to a Scully.
I can't say I understand the reference.
Oh, okay. It's X-Files. It's are you really too young for X-Files?
I might be.
Oh, it's kind of like a buddy cop show, but they deal with supernatural stuff, and one of them is a skeptic and the other one is a believer.
Hmm,
Right?
interesting.
Yeah, Scully is the skeptic, Mulder is the believer.
I think the X Files was like relatively popular.
It was pretty popular.
I never watched any like real. I don't really watch media.
Okay. So as a proclaimed skeptic, I gotta ask Dexter, do you think you might have ever had a paranormal experience?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I have had like creepy stories, things that have happened that kind of like made my skin crawl while it was happening.
Okay, okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be supernatural, just like weird stuff.
But yeah, I can't say I ever had any truly like doors slamming in the house at midnight, TVs turning on and off, paranormal like activity happening. I guess if I think a story that comes to mind, I am almost convinced that I met a witch in the forest that like I used to run around in as a kid.
Okay, let's hear it.
So me and my buddies were just kind of when we went to our buddy's house, there was a dried riverbed out by where he lived, and we would just go out there and roam it because, I mean, it's a dry riverbed. Who wouldn't want to roam that?
Mm,
Cool as hell. So we're like kind of just trudging through this forest on this dry river bank, and suddenly we start hearing some barking, and I'm like, that sounds like more than one dog. And like suddenly, like 40 dogs are on us, and like they're on all sides of us, and we're just like sprinting down this riverbed, and these dogs chase us for like 10 minutes, and we're like hoofing it over like logs through those like really spiny brambles, trying our hardest to get like anywhere away from these animals because like I think that we're getting attacked by like one of those like uh rogue packs that like you see attacking people every now and then.
right, like a group of feral dogs.
Yeah, I'm like freaking out about it. And like that kind of cartoonish scene where the people run and then suddenly like the dogs are in front of them, they're behind them, they're circling all around them.
Right, right.
That happened. And
Wild.
me and my friends are all like panicked and back to back to back just standing there like what are we going to do? And then suddenly like this woman that's super out of place, just dressed like mostly in black, just kind of comes sliding through just this pack of dogs in front of us and asking us like, "What are we doing there?" Trying to scare us off, telling us we got to go somewhere else. Like we don't belong here. We need to we need to leave.
Was she dressed like normal?
No, super out of place. We're talking like middle of a super hot summer, clad all in black, kind of like long drifting clothes.
Interesting. Like a dress?
Kind of. Kind of like a
Weird.
dress.
That is weird.
We're talking super pale, like very wispy looking.
That is super interesting.
And like as far as I'm aware, this property didn't belong to anybody. I was pretty sure it was state property.
Bureau of Land Management, maybe.
Yeah, I thought it was BLM land. So it's just like super creepy that this person who owns all these dogs. The worst part is the dogs started coming from behind us, so she got from ahead of us.
She came from the direction you were traveling.
So she came from the direction that we were running towards, but the dogs came from where we were traveling from. So they came from behind us, and she came from in front.
Weird. Huh.
But I'm fairly certain that these dogs were like hers because they seemed friendly to her, way friendlier than they were with us.
Right, right. Well, they didn't bother her.
Yeah, they basically parted the way for her.
That is super weird. And now I have to ask, would you have banged?
No.
Okay.
We're talking like a 45-year-old wispy kind of like
Oh, kind of
a boglin.
a boglum, not a good looking like sexy witch, like a.
No, we're talking like a
Oh.
boglin. Kind of the hair is thinning a little bit.
What I find the most interesting is the fact she wasn't dressed like a normal person.
Yeah, this is like July in the South, where it just gets super hot.
Right. I've lived in the South while I was in the Air Force, and yeah, it gets pretty muggy.
So it didn't make any sense.
That is very strange.
So that is a weird story from my childhood that still I still have questions about it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe we stepped on like a secret drug operation that we weren't supposed to know about.
Yeah, but I would think like if you'd stepped on in on like a say like a weed grow or a militia situation, she would have been dressed differently. She wouldn't have been dressed all strange like she was.
Maybe she just threw on whatever was there.
Maybe. But who just has a wispy black dress just lying around?
Exactly. It was so surreal.
Yeah, that is weird.
Like she didn't do anything beyond telling us that we had to leave. That's the weirdest part.
Right. And did the dogs leave you alone after she confronted you?
Yeah, they basically parted the way behind us and we left.
Weird.
We hoofed it out of there.
I can imagine.
And yeah, not a single
She didn't eat you like witches are wont to do.
she didn't boil us in stew. I mean,
Yeah. She didn't make cookies out of your balls or something.
yeah, as far as I'm aware, I'm still alive.
Yeah, I've got a couple, but not only are they pretty short, I'm totally willing to admit that they might have also been dreams, but I have reasons to believe that they're not dreams, and I guess I'll just take my turn talking about one of them. Let's see. Do you want to hear the astral projection or the aliens first?
I think astral projection is really cool.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll start with that one because it's the absolute shortest, and it really was just like I climbed into bed, and my perception was me still sitting up in my bed, but what I could feel was my body falling back and like hitting the pillow, and then I turn around, and it feels wrong, and later I would kind of I was a kid when this happened. I was probably like 14 or 15, and but later, like when I became 21 and was legally able to drink, I would compare it to like kind of being drunk. And I turn around and I see myself laying on the bed, and then I realize something is wrong, and I'm kind of pulled back, and then I wake up.
Is it
Right?
is it kind of like a lucid dream?
Maybe I don't lucid dream very often or ever. I think I've done it maybe one time.
On the rare occasion that I do dream, almost all my dreams are lucid. Like I have a degree of control over them.
Right. And I guess when I get into my reasons why I don't think these experiences are dreams, that's one of the reasons is I don't remember my dreams very often. The fact that I was able to remember these dreams like so long after the moment I woke up is kind of strange.
Wouldn't it be cool to be able to astral project?
That would be sweet. In my younger years, I've kind of attempted it a few times, but never could manage it. The one time I think it actually happened was a total accident.
I mean, we all when we were younger wanted to be like what a superhero or something, right? We wanted
Wizards,
to have super. Yeah, I wanted to be a flame wizard.
right?
Never happened.
Yep. I was pissed when I didn't get my invitation to Hogwarts.
I was very upset when I still can't freaking shoot a firebolt. Down in the comments, what was your superhero power that you wanted as a kid that you never got?
Right? And you had one more, right?
Yeah, yeah. This one's super short, and it could totally be explained away with something totally basic. But when I was a kid, I'd go and hang out with my neighbor's house. We would like jump on their trampoline and stuff, and I mean, we'd be there all the time. And one night it was like 8:30, 8:45. It was already dark outside, and like towards the back of their property, they had like a little pond or something,
Hmm.
and like there's no lights back here. It is dark as heck. There's like I can't make anything out except for two yellowish orange little like spheres kind of glaring at us.
Okay, so you're seeing like maybe a like cat's eyes or something.
Yeah, kind of like cat's eyes. Except they're at like I mean when I was a kid, they were at like my shoulder height and it was watching me and my neighbor. I don't know what it was, but it was way bigger than any of the predators that are local to our area.
You couldn't have explained it by saying, say, it was a mountain lion.
No, we didn't. They were not native unless someone released a mountain lion there.
Weird.
Um,
Were you even, like, in the country?
like kind of the country.
Okay. So, kind of between suburb and rural.
Yeah, like we're kind of that in between where the houses are only like on an acre of land, so you can see your neighbors, but they're still like
Alright.
a little ways away.
Okay. Not the usual location of a mountain lion encounter.
No, and granted, we're also in a place where mountain lions aren't really native. Like
Right.
the biggest feline we have is a bobcat,
Uh-huh.
and bobcats, last time I checked, were not at my shoulder height. I mean, they get big, but they don't get that big. Like we see these orange lights, and they freaking blink.
Oh, that's spooky.
And like my skin was crawling, my hairs were standing on end. I'm like freaking out because I'm like a 10-year-old kid.
That is spooky, man. The fact that they blinked like they were attached to a living creature. Well, also that they were kind of yellow, like you said. I think when like a cat's eyes reflect, they're mostly a greenish.
Yeah, there's like a greenish yellow, but this was super spooky because it was like a something was just chilling watching us.
Just watching.
And so like we ran inside. My neighbor ran to her house. Was like I basically jumped the fence. This like 6-foot fence.
Tactical brick shitting.
Yeah. I was out of there. I skedaddled,
Mm.
man. I zoinked on out in a very Shaggy-esque fashion.
There's like a few frames of animation where you're just still.
Yeah, like my legs are spinning, but I'm like, it's like that kind of sound,
Right. Yeah.
and like I'm going nowhere. Yeah, exactly like that. That's a perfect representation of that moment.
Wild. That is spooky, man.
And to this day, I still don't know what that was, but it was too big to be any local predator.
Yeah, that is wild.
Too small to be a person. I mean, I guess it could have been like another kid, but there were no other kids.
What kid has glowing eyes, though?
Yeah,
Or reflective eyes, rather.
and there's no other animal I could think of that would have fit that.
Yeah, that's super weird. And I would say I had a similar experience, but I don't think it was eyeballs that I was looking at. I guess I'll get into my second story here that also could have been a dream, but it might not have been a dream. When I was real little, and this was like, I don't know what number age I was, but I was young enough to where aliens weren't like a concept in my head yet. I didn't know aliens could be a thing, right? So it's pretty young. We're taking like a camping trip out in the desert, and I'm in my uncle's Winnebago in that kind of bed that rests above the driving cab there.
All right, the loft bed.
The loft bed, yeah, above the driving cab. And I'm looking out the window and I see these like green lights. I don't remember how many there were, but it was probably more than 6. And they were all about like the size of a tennis ball, and they're kind of floating around out in front of the Winnebago. Like they show up far away, but they get closer and closer. And I see them kind of like pass the window of the motorhome and kind of just go look at our campsite. Maybe I change from the window that's immediately in front to the side window that's facing the campsite, and I'm watching them kind of like float around. And I thought, like, I can't decide whether or not it looked like they were maybe spraying something on the stuff, like on the tables and the tents and stuff. But I also, like, maybe they were shining a light on them too. Like, I guess to make an example, like, you know how in sci-fi sometimes like a little light will come out and scan something? It could have been that. I like, as a little kid, I thought they might have been spraying, but it could have been like that kind of scan light. Now that I'm an adult,
They're spraying like like DMT or something. It's proven fact aliens love DMT.
aliens. Well, if you take DMT, you'll see aliens.
Yeah, dude.
Jamie, look that up.
Yeah, look that up. Look that up, dude.
And as a little kid, I had no idea what these things were, and I wanted to go out and see like the results of whatever they were spraying on the.
Go and hang out with the Greys.
Go and hang out with the Greys and take some DMT. But and this is one of the reasons I think this probably was a dream, is that nothing changed with the campsite. It was just a regular old campsite. But as for the reasons why I think this and my out-of-body experience weren't dreams is, I explained it earlier. One, I don't remember my dreams. For the most part, it's the moment I wake up, they're gone. And two, when I do remember my dreams, it's usually pretty abstract. I don't tend to dream about real places that often, or maybe I do, but they're super wrong. And by the moment I wake up, I know, oh, it was very different than how I remember.
Where was this campground again?
This was out in like the California desert,
Mm.
kind of east of San Diego.
Hey, it's a proven fact. Aliens love deserts. Can't get enough of them.
Love them. But like, if someone could definitively prove to me that those experiences were dreams, I'm totally happy to admit that they probably were. It's just I have a couple reasons to believe that they're not.
You don't suppose that astral projection one has something to do with like your brain is still a little active as you're starting to fall asleep?
That's possible. It was just the fact that I looked down and saw myself laying on the bed. That was super weird.
So like you know how when in like school when you're like dozing off and your head is ducking and then you like you finally hit that kind of critical moment and then you have that like what just happened?
You know, that's a good point. That could have absolutely been what it is.
That's kind of what I think when I hear your story.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. As for the glowing lights, is there potential it could have been park rangers trying to check for homeless?
I doubt that these things were flashlights, if that's what you're trying to get at, because they shed light in all directions. I remember that keenly. They were like spheres. They were glowing spheres, right? If let's say like a park ranger swept the light in such a way that it was pointed away from me, I would have seen a silhouette, but that never happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I might be a skeptic towards supernatural, but I'm not as big of a skeptic towards extraterrestrial.
Aliens make sense, I think. It's kind of like mathematically they can't not exist.
Yeah, there's just too much vastness for there to not be.
Right. Whether they'd be actually interested in a bunch of goofy aliens on this weirdo backwater world, that's another story.
We just want to return to monkey.
Right? Maybe the monkeys are the actual advanced civilization.
Maybe the monkeys were the friends you made along the way.
Right? So, do you, I guess I'm not sure how to smoothly segue into the next like point I have. Do you maybe have like a conspiracy theory? We've talked about we've talked about a handful of conspiracy theories here on the NEETwork, mostly like talking about the kind of workings of society, but maybe you have some kind of fun conspiracy theory that you maybe believe a little more.
How about you start out with some? See if I can kind of jog some of mine.
I guess I'll start with a more realistic one, and I am one of the people who believes that Michael Jackson didn't do it. If you catch my drift.
Are you saying that Billie Jean is not his daughter?
No. Well, that's also not. The kid is not his son. Billie Jean was his baby mama. That's what Billie Jean's about.
Oh, are you saying that Billie Jean is not his lover?
Yeah, Billie Jean was not my lover. She's just a girl, but she says I am the one.
I didn't listen to a lot of Michael Jackson, obviously.
Oh, I'm a huge Michael Jackson guy, and maybe that is like kind of working into my own personal bias, but I don't think Michael Jackson did it.
So is Michael Jackson dead?
I do think he's dead. but it's also just as possible that Michael Jackson, Elvis, and Tupac and Biggie Smalls are all just on an island somewhere.
Just out there chilling, making the next 50 years worth of bangers in secret.
And I guess some points in support of this idea is that there's the whole narrative of like, oh, Michael Jackson had sleepovers with little boys, and I'm not gonna lie, that's weird as shit. Um, but you have to understand that Michael Jackson's quote unquote bedroom was essentially a 2-story house, like fully appointed.
Fair enough.
And there is, let's see, there's another really big point, but I forgot what it was. There's a lot to the Michael Jackson case. Oh, the what a lot of people don't know is that there were two instances of this. There were two separate accusations. And the first one, there is actually a recorded phone call between the father of one of the alleged victims and a Sony executive, talking about how this is going to ruin him. And I think the dad mentioned that he was going to make a lot of money as a result. So that alone is an enormous red flag when someone like comes out with an accusation
Financial incentive.
and then there's a financial incentive. And the reason I believe that there was such a persistent effort to, I guess, cancel Michael Jackson was my theory is that at the time Michael Jackson was a majority shareholder of Sony. He effectively owned the company and could direct it. And the other executives of the company wanted control back, and their aim was to basically cancel Michael Jackson. We didn't call it that back in the day, but that's effectively what it was.
Yeah, they wanted their piece of the pie.
Yeah, they and to do so, right, and to gain their piece of the pie, they would use this to attack Michael Jackson and in effect force him to sell off his holdings of Sony so that they could buy it back. That's why I think there was such a media circus about the Jackson case. And if you want to get really into like the arguments against Michael Jackson having done it, actually there's a fantastic video on YouTube. Let me find it. Um, it's just called the Michael Jackson Rebuttal by the Rageaholic, and he goes over like point by point everything, every like little detail of the case, in far more detail than this podcast could really get into without being a podcast all on its own. So, what do you think of that, Dexter?
I mean, again, I was never a huge Michael Jackson fan, but
Okay,
I remember thinking that like Michael Jackson is definitely a predator. But
right.
kind of the more that I've kind of thought about it and the like less distrustful I've become of things like the media
Oh yeah, there is that.
as I've grown up, the more I kind of understand that there's always more than just one motive. Like there is no like flat correct. Like this is the right thing, There's never that case.
Uh-huh. There's definitely more to the story if the mainstream media is making a big circus about it.
Exactly. If it's
Yeah.
been made into like massive news, there's more going on.
And this was like the one that was really big was like early 2000s, and that was like a solid year of like news coverage. The whole country was talking about it for a long time.
Right. And so when the media doesn't want you to know about something, it gets memory hold really fast. But when it wants you to focus on something and make a lot of opinions about it, stays on it for a really long time. So kind of thinking about it now, it becomes less plausible that he actually did do anything. I got a feeling those kids probably would have said something.
Oh, and I guess speaking of the victims, the alleged victims, the fact that at least half of them have gone back on the story. should tell you something. There's quite a few of them that have said no, he didn't do anything, including Macaulay Culkin, the Home Alone kid,
Yeah.
was one of the alleged victims who says no, he didn't do anything.
There's just the inconsistency. Anytime a story becomes inconsistent, I become very, very skeptical.
Right. So I guess speaking of skepticism, how about have I jogged your memory for any conspiracy theories?
It's always hard to like label yourself as a conspiracy theorist when you believe what you think, right?
Right. Well, just because something's a conspiracy doesn't mean it's false.
Yeah. And it's unfortunately, most of my conspiracy theories are just a little too political for me to want to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not in a public setting like this, and that's fine.
I just
Well, okay, so what about this? Maybe like not one that you believe, but one that you think is fun,
a fun conspiracy theory.
right? So like uh let me just cook one up real quick. The lizard people who live underground are convincing us that the world is round when really it's flat or
Oh,
something like that.
okay. Flat world theory is freaking hilarious, man.
Yeah, it's funny shit. I gotta love flat Earth theory.
And the fact that they double down every time you like bring new evidence to the table, it's like, yeah, well, there's this really niche scientist who has a bachelor's in that,
Right?
like, very specific things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And they can never answer where the sun goes.
It just goes to the bottom of the
Yeah, what does it pass through a tunnel?
earth.
Is the Earth like a well, actually, I might buy that the Earth is like a big coin that's floating through space, right? And we're living on one face of it, but that's not how they explain it.
No, because we have the ice shelf that is keeping all of the
Right.
water in, and if the
Yes.
Earth flips over, all the water falls out.
Yep.
Believe me.
Something like that. So my variation on the theory is that the lizard people live underground, but if the world was round, there wouldn't be enough space for a massive lizard man empire that controls the world. But if the world is flat, then there is enough space to support such a population. And that's my my theory I use to goof people.
You just got to go harder into it. You got to like up them. But let me think. One that I wish would be real would be something like an underwater rapture esque city.
Interesting. Okay.
I think I love that idea. Like something about that is just such an attractive idea to me. And I could totally see it happening. Like we have these freaking billionaires. Oh, here's a good one. We only
Yeah.
know about billionaires and are only upset about billionaires because the trillionaires are paying not to be seen.
Yo, that's wild.
There's one that I think is very possible.
Ooh, that's interesting. Well, like, is George Soros a trillionaire?
I don't know what Soros is. I don't know where he's getting his money from. I don't know how he has.
I guess you just gave me a new theory. It's like the only reason we know about George Soros is because he has been elected to kind of be the face of the trillionaires that control the world.
Exactly.
Oh man.
I, I'm I'm making this a thing now. I genuinely think that there are richer people out there that don't want us to see them.
Oh, absolutely. There probably definitely is.
So, there's a lot of hate going towards, Bezos and uh like
If Steve Jobs were alive, he'd definitely get a lot of hate, which is totally deserved, by the way. Steve Jobs is an enormous piece of
oh,
human garbage.
definitely. A lot of these people definitely are. They definitely abuse their their fortune. But I definitely think there are richer people.
Yeah, the people really in control. Very interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that. Illuminati types, right?
Yeah.
And I guess to cap off the more serious theories, I've been kind of working on this. It's almost kind of happened as a result of me thinking about like video game settings, but I came up with this theory about like psychic powers and ghosts and stuff.
Like espers?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the idea kind of goes like this, and the idea is that all humans have like a latent psychic ability, and we might not be able to use kind of the TV psychic powers that we see in movies and stuff, but the fact that we can have a sense for something else watching us, I think, like, what organ do we use to sense that, right? How do we sense ourselves being watched? And I kind of extrapolated, well, what if it's like a psychic field that's used to sense that?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that.
Okay.
In one of our last podcasts, I mentioned a class of anatomy and physiology,
Yeah.
and I mentioned how it was a cool as hell class. One of the subjects that we got to learn about was these like extra senses that we have, like the lesser known from sight, smell, touch, taste, hearing. The one I learned was basically proximity sense. Humans basically have a very basic way of sensing proximity to other things. And I can't remember what it was that causes that sense. It's very hard to explain.
Interesting.
There is something that causes us to sense the proximity of other living beings.
And they know how it works. It's not going to be some pseudoscience crap like I'm about to talk about.
No,
Okay. I guess that kind of puts the nail in my theory, although I did think my theory was very interesting.
I just thought of another conspiracy theory.
Yeah?
Um, I remember hearing this one a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure it's just meme bait,
Uh-huh.
but it's Japan invented anime to destabilize the Western youth.
I would believe that, but it's having the same effect on their own population. I guess if they really know how a sense like that works, it kind of puts the kibosh on my whole theory. But the idea was that like we have like a psychic ability kind of evolved into us, and we're all capable of it. And a ghost is not like the soul of a departed person. It's actually like your psychic field remaining on Earth for some reason. And let's see what else. What else could it be? Like the fact that we evolved alongside dogs, like kind of gave them some of our psychic abilities too, because they're said to be able to sense the supernatural like we can,
Well,
or maybe like mammals in general can do it, not just humans.
you know that like sometimes cats and dogs seem on edge for like no apparent reason, and they'll like freak out at random parts of houses. I personally think that's probably related to like weather change or something.
It could be just like weird because they can sense like electromagnetic fields and stuff.
Maybe a weird smell.
Maybe like weird vibrations in the house. Oh, that's yeah, weird smells. And if there's any evidence against the existence of ghosts, it's probably that particular what's ultrasonic or something like that. It's a kind of vibrational frequency that humans can't perceive like directly, but we could definitely feel it when it happens. And they create the sensations that we have when we believe ghosts are present. And if there's any evidence against ghosts, that's definitely the strongest.
Right.
Or any reason to just disprove ghosts. I would think if anyone needed evidence, it's the people trying to say ghosts are real. Again, that's kind of serious but kind of fun at the same time. I did think about it while I was like thinking about I think it was Warhammer, thinking about like humans in Warhammer because they're kind of all latently psychic in that setting, and like how psyker powers work gave me the idea. So it's partly fiction, but partly, hey, this is kind of like interesting. Well, how would this work in real life?
It's a fun idea to play with.
Like a concept that could work if I were to think about it more. What you explained earlier kind of just knocks it right out of the park, or knocks it out. And I guess if we're talking about like fiction and stuff, we got to talk about Creepypasta and the X board and cryptids and stuff. I love this stuff, dude. I mean, I was the guy who chose the subject of the episode, so I have some interest in the supernatural.
I mean, I seem to remember you introducing me to the idea of the skinwalker.
Yeah, skinwalkers are spooky, man.
I remember I was like, "What the hell is that?" And you're like, "Dude, that's like the scariest thing ever." And then I remember like
I didn't say that.
every day in college, I would be like, "Hey, you should come over here alone."
Yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, skinwalk. It's like that's another like kind of goof I make. It's like ghosts aren't real, Bigfoot isn't real, aliens are real, skinwalkers are real. Come over here alone. Yeah, we need to go out and gather firewood.
And come over here alone, shirtless.
Yes.
That's for artistic reasons.
Well, coming to your room alone and shirtless was just like
That was just watching anime.
that was just normal everyday activities.
I mean, that's how we watched Evangelion.
Yeah, that is how we watched Evangelion. But I guess in that when I was kind of really into that idea of skinwalkers, the stories weren't terribly common yet. But then X on 4chan just got absolutely flooded with skinwalker stories, and they became like passe. They became super trite. They're almost all the same.
Right. I mean, there's an extra person in our group, or
Right.
I smelt a really metallic smell after hearing a whole bunch of screaming, and now
Yeah,
there's somebody trying to enter our house at night.
Now there's a weird, skinny, pale, monster creature with black eyes that changed into my friend.
It's always like my distant cousin that we don't talk to anymore.
Yeah, right.
When I think of creepypasta, there's one I remember a long time ago, and I can't remember the creature it was, but it was like Swedish folklore, which made it like kind of original feeling.
Cool.
This kid and his grandpa basically going through their forest to camp in like his grandpa's cabin, and his grandpa was like super kind of folklore heavy, putting like runes on the freaking cabin at night, and telling like this kid that he has to do all kinds of things very specifically, otherwise they risk the ire of basically like the elves or like the gnomes of the forest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about. The Tomta, something like that.
That okay, that's ringing some bells. Basically, like you have to like go into the forest, and if you want to cut down a tree, you have to mark it with some kind of food, and if the food is taken in the morning, then it's like you've been given permission.
Right. Yeah. And that is a very cool story for a number of reasons. One, I don't think I really believe it, but there is definitely some appeal to like the idea of we've had that fantasy of kind of going out in a woods and being one with nature, like that idea of working in tandem with the forest spirits and appeasing them. I think there's something kind of appealing about that makes it more than just you're a woodsman.
Yeah, there's something really appealing about like the folklore aspect, I guess, is what's appealing, right?
The folklore is cool. Yeah.
Like you have this very easily kind of boring, standardized story that you can tell. You know, me and
Uh
my grandpa were hunted down. My grandpa's dead now, but
yeah, by a skinwalker.
yeah. But instead, it's like, no, there are rules here. There's
Right. Oh, that's the other thing about the skinwalker stories is that they all kind of have the same cliches, but the rules are always changing.
right, and like the rules of skinwalkers so strange because it's like these people that technically were together this whole time in the cabin, and now one of them is suddenly a skinwalker because I guess for some reason they just, even though they were super scared, they decided to walk out in the middle of the forest in the middle of the night.
Right. They had to go gather firewood or something.
Yeah, they heard screaming, so they decided to go and investigate without waking anybody else up.
Right.
That's why I hate skinwalker stories. Granted,
Uh-huh.
skinwalkers are creepy as hell. It makes a great creepypasta. Same with Goatman.
Yeah, the concept is spooky. Yeah, Goatman is super creepy.
Yeah, it's so bland. Whereas the forest spirits, I think the way that creepypasta ended was like the guy basically offered them some kind of gift at the end right before he's, you know, hunted down, just like one of those Japanese animes, and then it like calms the forest spirit down and then he
Huh.
suddenly doesn't want anything to do with them anymore.
What anime is this?
Every freaking anime. I think when I think of that, I think of the scene from the first season of Avatar when Aang offers the panda spirit.
Oh, we got us a fake nerd over here. Avatar is an anime.
Okay, fine, it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's I think the word is Japanimation if it's a western cartoon that kind of resembles anime.
But there's a lot of cases where like the main character in I can't think of a case right off the top of my head, but like where a main character will offer like a gift to this thing that's like about and it like stops and like looks at it.
That sounds like a Princess Mononoke thing. It's been almost 2 decades since I've seen that movie. I guess like in lieu of the idea of like skepticism and debunking these very common spooky supernatural encounter stories, uh the fact that there's no like video of skinwalkers, you would think like none of these protagonists ever think to get out their phone and film whatever messed up stuff is going on. We literally all carry high definition video cameras in our pocket, but no one can get a good image of Bigfoot.
Well, there are, but I didn't have a signal.
You don't need a
Work
signal to work a cell phone camera, or do you?
no,
Yeah,
you don't.
exactly. There is a couple of, I don't know what it is. I'm also pretty sure it's fake, but it was really creepy of like this guy kind of documenting his encounters with this weird white uh crawly creepy creature that's kind of like the skinwalkers from the creepypastas, and I mean, to their credit, they were very spooky.
Uh, I know that, and seems a little unrelated because I'm not exactly sure what you're referencing.
To be fair, I don't know what I'm referencing either. I just remember having watched it.
I know that something a lot of people do to make videos creepier when they're editing is in After Effects they'll do this. Have you know the new It movies
Yes, but I haven't seen them. I've heard they're kind of bad.
and the in the ads for them you have like Pennywise doing that weird like jittery stutter steppy motion when he's walking.
Oh, yeah, they'll like I think I know how they do it. What they'll do is they'll use it's essentially fast motion.
Yeah, they make a really unnatural and
Uh-huh.
it feels very wrong. And that's what a lot of these videos do to make things feel creepier.
Yeah, I can see that. But what do you like, have you seen a creepy video that maybe you were convinced by?
It's a little embarrassing to say now after like going back and looking at them,
Uh-huh.
but there was a show on Animal Planet. Uh,
Oh, I think I know which one this is.
it was like Lost Tapes.
Yep. I love Lost Tapes. That show's so goofy.
When I was a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, how'd they get away?" The giant centipede episode. Oh my god, man, that freaked me out. I was like,
I've not seen that one. That sounds like fun.
"Could they encounter that?" I can't believe that thing existed. That's crazy.
Wow.
Granted, I was like 10.
10, yeah.
Looking back at it now, it's like a Slim Jim that they're wrapping around their leg. But
Well, like I'm saying, like the people who I watched this last night. Someone was streaming it, and it was like somebody's basement. Like the title of the YouTube channel was somebody's basement, and there was a moment where they set the camera up to like film the door that all of this weird supernatural stuff was happening around, and the door pops open. But actually, I have a better example. It's it's like a totally unrelated video where the kitchen is absolutely tearing itself apart. Have you seen that video?
there's a lot like them.
Let me see if I can. Give me just a moment. Let me see if I can find it.
Like a poltergeist is just like King Cobra JFS is having a fit, except he's invisible.
You're right. Here it is.
God dang it!
God damn it!
Just
Uh,
throwing everything on the floor.
this is the specific video I'm referring to. Okay, so yeah, well, what do you think of those? Because like a door randomly popping open, yeah, they could just tie a string to the door and pop it open, and set up the door in such a way that the door could pop it open. But what do you think of those, like those videos where
So
they can't possibly have strings tied to every piece of tableware?
so watching the video, for me, everything looks too fluid.
Okay.
Like it just feels too like flat motiony. Like that um
So you're
the
saying it could be like maybe CG?
I'm thinking CG because look at that.
Okay. And yeah, in a world of CG, it becomes very hard to create spooky videos that can't be immediately debunked by just saying it's CG.
Like looking at the oven when it's closing. That feels really fake. Like it just feels like they did a keyframe here to here.
Trying to watch the oven. And yeah, this I could very easily see this all just being like a CG scene that's rendered and kind of made intentionally to look like an old video camera. Like it's videos like that that convince me, but yeah, just like you say, it could very easily be CG.
So that feels fake to me.
Okay. And I guess barring CG, like any spooky creature encounter, do it in a costume.
If you're gonna do it practical.
And let's see. I guess like as far as our supernatural experiences go, like yeah, we only have like that very small amount, but I guess in lieu of the idea of us expanding into other kinds of content, my grandpa and I are thinking of starting a YouTube channel that's mostly just going to be us doing outdoorsy type stuff, but we want to go on some like Bigfoot hunts. So maybe I'll have an encounter with Bigfoot. And if you guys are interested in seeing that, dear viewers, let me know, and I'll post it in the Discord when I start, or when me and my grandpa start making those videos. Not just the Bigfoot stuff, but also our outdoor activities. We'll probably like do some gold panning and stuff like that.
Did I ever tell you I actually had a nickname in college?
Okay,
Yeah, it was Bigfoot
why is that?
because I took off all my clothes and walked around in the forest at night.
Oh well, actually, now that you bring it up, there's a 4chan post I remember seeing about like how Bigfoots get made, and the idea is like when someone rejects society and runs out into the woods, um the process of like surviving in the woods and eating magic mushrooms turns humans into Bigfoots, and I thought that was really fun. But I think we're largely out of stuff to talk about as far as the supernatural goes. Let
Yeah.
us know what you guys think, listeners. Would you like to see more content like this where it's just kind of us BSing? Or maybe some other format is something you'd prefer? Let us know. But also, thanks for listening all the way through to the end. If you like what you heard, you can help us grow in a few ways. We're still rather small and always trying to grow our audience. So if you have friends who might be interested in the NEETwork, let them know about us. And any boost to our signal helps, and every single new subscriber is a treasure. And while we're still pretty small, I try to reply to every comment, although it just doesn't happen. I just don't have something clever to say to every single person other than maybe thank you. But I certainly appreciate every single view.
If you'd like to support us in a more personal way, consider contributing to our Patreon at patreon.com/NEETworkPod. A kind contribution goes towards paying for guest appearances, paid promotion, membership to various podcasting services.
And I'd like to also pay Dexter at some point for his time on these episodes. Right now, I just have him chained to a wall in my basement.
Guys, please, the radiator gets very hot.
Yes. If you're listening on Podbean or any number of fine podcast aggregators where we host the NEETwork, leave a like and consider downloading the episode. If you're listening on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment to help out the algorithm.
Guys, no, seriously, this is a cry for help. He has me tied to the radiator.
The links to all of these are in the description below.
Why won't he listen to me?
Stay comfy, Dexter.
Yeah, stay comfy, Leo.